Welcome to my review series. In this video, we are reviewing Star Trek Picard Episode 3, The End is the Beginning. I viewed this a few days ago and finished the main notes for my work before life intruded, so we're finally getting around to it. As we now have a history of 3 episodes to give a course, discussion at the end will include open issues, persistent problems, or unclosed threads that stand out. Now, Star Trek Picard, Episode 3, The End is the Beginning. Back at the scene of the crime, Starfleet fails Picard, though they bring up Mars burning again, which is irksome. And Raffi is the one who calls Picard JL, and he accepts it. Picard wasn't even familiar to his family, and she gets to JL him? This is also one of the most defeatist scenes yet in the series. We're deconstructing not just Starfleet, but Picard as well. Then Raffi's tone fills with derision since he's giving up, and turns to pleading before back to pinning her being fired on him. Her career was staked on this, staked on JL. That's a story that should have been told. Picard wouldn't have given up, or at least I in my mind don't see it. But I guess JL would. Already I think it. This isn't Star Trek. Dressing down by Raffi in the next scene, and here it is, comparing his relative wealth to her poverty. This was a society without need. It's also being deconstructed. And she's a drug addict? And JL treats her like a resource? He knew this when he called. He's just using her. He didn't really care before now. My word, I have heard that there was a dramatic point to make Starfleet a privileged class, and others outside were beneath. They were outside of the bright shining light of Starfleet. Even the scene in the yards in episode 2 makes more sense now. But it's wrong. Fault for breaking standard canon by new context not expanding from old context. Even if this is meant to drive a dramatic narrative, this world shown in 2 scenes of episode 3 is not even Star Trek from Roddenberry. It's not Roddenberry's Star Trek anymore. It should be another show, another world, a whole other universe. They really like flying through the Borg ship for setup. How first contact of them. So, we see Hugh, if I'm not mistaken. It seems we're getting more backstory, furthering mysteries on the Borg cube. Soji is looking into a shared mythology concerning an ex-Borg Romulan. After walking up a slope near Vasquez Rocks, old and tired JL apologizes for past misdeeds falling on deaf, perhaps drunk ears. Raffi would have reason to dislike JL based on the backstory, but his pleading is disconcerting, especially set against her foul, familiar tone. Still, there's a trope here. 2 actually. First, she does help him with a ship and a captain named Rios. And second, I am almost certain she'll be showing up later. I just hope I don't hear dialogue that I think I will when that comes to pass. Spoilers. I will. Commodore O shows up to question Dr. Girardi outside the Daystrom Institute. She's gotta be a Romulan, right? Vulcans wouldn't wear sunglasses. They don't need them. Harsh Vulcan sun, unconscious inner eyelid, a la Assignment Annihilation. Just don't even raise the special security wear eyeglasses in public trope in Star Trek, please. That was short. Now, ex-Borg that were Romulans all ended up disordered after reclamation. And another quick cut. 1, Picard pops up in the episode. 2, he treats Raffi like a tool also. I guess that was still JL playing Picard? That TNG music cue when JL sets foot on the ship. Such a juicy, sweet member berry that doesn't make any sense. He's in space, but not in command. Not his ship, not in Starfleet that isn't Starfleet. The ship is not this grand, beautiful, powerful, sleek thing, or carrying a name with any lush history that we yet know. But then we meet Chris Rios, former Starfleet on the outs of Starfleet, a smoker, a drinker, but apparently very picky about his ship's condition, according to JL, and a tough guy about being hurt and dealing with his own EMH brusquely, though said EMH is patterned after him, and JL is playing a stodgy old Picard until the "I figured you out, ta-da" moment. The well-used and abused Rafi is apparently still technically adept even several glasses into JL's wine. Next mystery, Free Cloud. List of things, we know those, yep. All those berries were true about a certain Captain become Admiral Jean-Luc Picard. But we've got a JL here. This emergency navigation hologram, also a Rios pattern. And I think, was it cheaper, since monetary value seems to be a thing we are going to beat with a 15-kilogram sledgehammer in this show's world? And this one has an overabundance of personality to egg on Rios. Convenient. Rios lost his captain in the past, so he's got this sense of failure sitting on him. Possibly a good character moment. Okay, this is an aside based on visuals. Little things like this perturb my still waters. But Rios is looking out of a porthole and sees this streak in orbital space. This is mirrored by JL back at the chateau watching a streak through the sky as well. Very likely a falling star. But what Rios saw? Space debris? Perhaps another ship moving by at speed still illuminated enough to show up? Just that it wasn't a shooting star because it couldn't be. But someone might not have cared that it wouldn't make sense. They just wanted the mirrored moment. The little moment outside JL's home might have felt more meaningful if so much wasn't breaking down around it. Whoa. Back on the cube, and Hugh calls out Soji as a know-it-all. Proof is limited so far, but saying it outright makes it too easy. And then she easily breaks through a disordered Romulan's routine. Yes, JL's first response to this home coming under assault appears as debilitating fear. But once things start, the action star jumps into the fray. Wait, no, he gets thrown over a desk. That's gonna break a hip. Or maybe not? And I thought Jaban was dead when he was shooting the one he stripped the weapon from and another unit entered the room behind him. But no, he survives, and JL's fighting off the one who threw him. Resilient old chap, eh? Until he had that phaser under his desk the whole time and shoots the guy. And there are 2 phasers hidden under the furniture in this room. Convenient. Makes me wonder if his Romulan servants might have hidden weapons all about. They might even be disruptors instead, which explains their appearance. Then JL, who should be bruised all over, perhaps broken, goes and leans against Laris. And I want him to retire to a home and leave gallivanting around the cosmos to the young. OMG, I want that for him. I shouldn't, but I do. Then, most convenient of all, Dr. Girardi shows up and shoots the last attacker with a Romulan rifle. Did one get thrown away out through the door? When I first saw the scene, and Girardi's behavior, and Laris' dry response, I wanted to laugh. I felt it. But the tone in this show, being scattered all about, seemed to have lost my sense of humor for me. Girardi mentions talking to O, the Commodore, definitely of Vulcan per JL. which makes those glasses silly. Not drawing a logic fault so much as it just seems silly to me. Secret agent trope. Why is Girardi here just now anyway? Oh, and what's this other thing she didn't mention just in time? We're going to find out about that soon. And they might have checked, or I hope they did, for a suicide juice capsule on the guy they are going to interrogate at close range. All right. Just a moment. I consider myself reasonably intelligent, and though I'm not the best student of behavior, I generally get there sooner than later. But I'm a little lost at Soji drawing Ramda's mention of a word she hates, that being mythology, which she says doesn't exist in Romulan, calling news better. And Soji connects it to former Borg creating a narrative, a contextual communication to handle their assimilation experience grounded in mythic or deeply symbolic ideas. And that is what Soji says she wants to accomplish? It's almost like creating a convoluted explanation of something that doesn't really make sense as long as it sounds high-toned and complex. Or here's our next mystery. Ramda says she knows Soji. Oh, look, Romulan bigotry too. The foreheads are on stubborn northerners. To forehead or not to forehead, that is the difference between old and new, it seems. Ramda mentions knowing Soji from tomorrow, and Soji states more information that seems to baffle Hugh. She knows Ramda's ship was one of the last this cube assimilated, believing or knowing that they held the secret of the cube's failure. I'm putting this note here, since the little mysteries or huge lanterns on points are as thick as thieves in this episode. This is connected to Soji's apparent hidden syntheticness soon. But these quick cuts breaking narratives at Chateau and Cube are annoying, at least personally. Please connect the two or quit it. And finally, they do. So, Soji's the Destroyer. She is Gozer. She is Hellboy. At Chateau, the questioned Romulan uses the suicide pill. Jeez, kids, could you have not interrogated him as if he wasn't dangerous? And he dissolves after ruining Jaban's vest. Ramda creates a commotion, almost killing herself, and all the ex-Borg Romulans look meaningfully at Soji. Hollows of two different mothers, and something happens to Soji. She gets knocked out. She falls unconscious on the bed. She doesn't get hit in the head. That would have done anything to her. And here we find Soji was operating with information she doesn't know she had concerning Ramda's ship. After Bro Romulan says sweet nothings to Soji, his sister Rizzo shows up in the passage outside and confronts him, behaving very attached to him in a most unsibling-like manner. And I think about the theme of close familial romantic relationships as a thing in current media. Then she tells him not to fall in love, which makes me really want to believe he doesn't really believe what he said to Soji. Then, first at the chateau, the doctor wants to come along on Picard's little jaunt for many and varied reasons. That was the other thing, by the way. Then, up on the ship, so does Raffi. Yep, Raffi's here, because Free Cloud, where Maddox is. And she's not joining up. See, she said it, and it's meaningless. She continues questioning everything JL says, and JL, actually, I think it's just Stewart at this point, says, "Engage," and they warp out. I've never felt less intrigued. Discussion. The first 3 episodes feel like the whole of a pilot that should have gone back for rewrites or lost to a better concept. This episode took a major step away from Star Trek, with the contemporary issues, vices, and context uncharacteristic to Trek, or at least the way Trek handled them. If I were told this was to make it better, it didn't. If the reason were to expand the world, you don't do that by undermining the foundations of the world that got you here. There are 10 episodes in this season. We are fast approaching 1/3 complete, and we're finally getting into some trek through space, though we are apparently still putting the crew together. Some outstanding issues so far include: no latter scene has explained the misuse of transporter tech, or the lack of it, in the first episode. Jat-Vash methods are too simple and broken regardless of who's in charge. They should be a true enemy forcing our heroes to overcome, such that they should be very adept, very capable, very secret about their sacred task. As an identical unit, Daj, or Soji, is not a pure Mary Sue, though by now argument leans heavily in favor that she is. Her synth heritage gives her powers and abilities much like Data, who could be argued as a Gary Stu. However, core traits and not weaken his overall story. As for the girls, besides the elemental strengths of a synth, they are human, yet superhuman, possibly linking to a sort of author insert, though I would conditionally accede this as circumstantial. They easily overcome inserting themselves into new environments, overcoming challenges, and finding that most everyone likes them or caves into their charms or their character, especially JL. Generally, their ability to overcome obstacles is idealized, and this is only countered so far by Daj being under duress by the Jat-Vash. Flesh and blood androids need far more fleshing out, pun intended. Whys, hows, and what fors, including the superhuman capabilities. The plot hole if you wish, of Picard surviving while Daj's boyfriend didn't in very similar circumstances. Expanding history without referencing past points concerning Data, Lal, and these paintings Data gifted Picard. These things came out at a certain timing, and they seem that their events are out of order with things that needed to occur. We have seen glimpses of Picard, especially in episodes 1 and 2, but he's all but gone in 3. We've played up his age and exceeded capabilities of his age in the Chateau attack. To what I mentioned before, just as Kirk railed at the same thing, the same issue in the past. Instead, I turn to this character and say, leave it to the kids, JL. You're done. Then there are open issues that are possibly yet to be explained and also possibly not part of writing, production, or direction issues. Android hatred is to be explained in the future, and more on the Jat-Vash for similar reasons. Who or what is the outside influence for Daj and Soji? Since we're triggered to destroy Mars Yards, is this the same influence as the sisters? And what was the impetus? Was it to get at Romulus for something? The Federation? Both? What for? Or another variety of trigger entirely? It has not been brought up in previous episodes as I went over them, though it was at the outside of my awareness in episode 2 with the Admiral's meeting. It's still an issue why the Federation needed to come to the Star Empire's aid. No redress of this issue has been furthered as of yet. This might be explained elsewhere, but the only example I've heard of at this time was the Countdown comic, which reimagines Data's course through history, because he's still in it after the events of Nemesis would have occurred. Though on first exposure I thought that put the JJ Trek future on entirely different tracks from main canon. It comes down to this. An insular, secretive empire, with all their resources, could not manage to save the population of perhaps the most important of their planets, but an outside power who was not even prepared themselves could? As a matter of personal awareness, I do not see the Stewart character as Picard at all anymore, even if he plays the shtick. This world officially broke from Star Trek in the most critical of ways. No matter all of the humanitarian efforts, no matter the windows we have seen into life on Federation worlds and the better future pictured within, no matter the high ideals and pillars that the many officers and crew stood on in the name of this more evolved and better future, this world is still dark and broken, corrupt and failing. Not so different from today and our world. Regardless of the name, for the last time, and with finality, this is not Star Trek. Though I may be losing interest, we will still continue with episode 4. 6 more episodes to get through. Thank you for watching, putting up with my derision and the malaise coming over this. Let us now depart to more pleasant things. Peace and long life. Be excellent to each other. Hail and party on.